Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. We talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm Roach Jeffrey. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. The SEC next year is going to have two of the tallest players in college basketball. You've got Jamarian Sharp. He transferred to Ole Miss, but Connor Vanover has transferred to the Missouri Tigers. I'm going to go over whether I think that Connor Vanover can be really successful for Missouri next season, whether he can hang with Jamarian Sharp in that anticipated matchup and help Missouri possibly make the NCAA tournament next year again as well. Dennis Gates is doing a fantastic job with the Missouri Tigers. He has actually been one of the most underrated coaches in this recruiting offseason with getting players through the high school ranks and also getting players through the transfer portal. He's been doing a great job, and getting Connor Vanover is a massive addition, literally and also figuratively as well, because of the fact that Connor Vanover is a guy that he's been all over the place in college basketball. He started his career with the California Golden Bears. He averaged about 7.5 points per game in 16 minutes per game, so not too bad there. It showed you that he had some promise, and he's 7'4", so he is a guy that is going to be a mismatch for a lot of players in college basketball, but sometimes he can be mismatched on because he's a little bit too tall. Maybe he's not quick enough to guard quicker guys. It's kind of the issue that Zach Edey has on the defensive end, but the one thing Connor Vanover has that Zach Edey does not is he is a bit quicker, so I think that Connor Vanover has a shot potentially to have a professional career. Don't know if he'll be in the NBA, but he could have a shot to be able to play professional basketball somewhere if he can continue to improve. But Cal, it did not work out there because he decided to leave, and he transferred to Arkansas in the Muss Bus. Eric Musselman landed Connor Vanover, and he actually had another solid year. He only averaged about 6.5 points per game, so it was down from what he did at Cal, but he was playing more and showcasing his ability to step out and shoot the three, something that makes Connor Vanover an actually intriguing player because he can shoot threes at 7'4", something most players of his size cannot do. Does he shoot lights out from three? No, but he can knock them down, which can stretch out the defense and be able to spread the ball around to the rest of the guys on the floor. But then the next season at Arkansas, Connor Vanover didn't play as much. He was on the bench more, and I don't know if that's just because of rotations or if that Eric Musselman kind of felt like there were other guys that were going to be able to help them win more. I think that's kind of what it was. It seemed like Arkansas was going with Justin Smith as a small ball 5, and they had a lot of players around him that could kind of drive in the lane. Maybe Connor Vanover they felt was in the way. Who knows? But Connor Vanover decided to leave Arkansas, and I don't blame him because he wants to play. So he went to Oral Roberts, and that was a great move for Connor Vanover because of the fact Oral Roberts is a team that's at a lower level. You had Max Amos, one of the best guards in college basketball last season, and you had a pretty solid head coach in Paul Mills. So Oral Roberts was in really good shape, and Max Amos really helped make Connor Vanover a better player last season. And Connor Vanover improved at a lot of things that he was not really as good at before, like trying to bang in the post and to also be able to defend in space, something that's extremely difficult for guys his size to do. It did help that he was at a lower level. So we're going to have to see if his career high averages of 13 points per game at Oral Roberts and shooting over 30% from the three-point line can carry back over to the SEC with the Missouri Tigers, where he's going to be playing against his former team in Arkansas, and Connor Vanover is going to get the matchup against Jamarian Sharp, who's transferred to Ole Miss, to Chris Beard. Both players are the tallest guys in college basketball, and it's going to be really interesting to see that matchup. I know people are going to be looking forward to it, and we'll have to see if Connor Vanover can hang with Jamarian Sharp, who definitely is a guy that's much more of a post player, plays more inside. Connor Vanover's more of a guy that's on the outside, so that's going to be really interesting. It will be a lot of fun next season for sure. Just adds to the storylines in college basketball for next year. Should be an awesome season, but for Missouri, it's looking like they could be a part of that awesome year of college basketball and be on the upward trajectory of that, because Missouri's a program that's been middling for a long time in the SEC. But Dennis Gates, he's been hired from Cleveland State to fix that, and last year in his first season at Missouri, things were trending in the right direction. Missouri made the NCAA tournament in his first season. They were a 7 seed, and they made the round of 32 and lost, so still not too far in the tournament, but that's not too bad for a program that has not had a lot of NCAA tournament success recently. So Dennis Gates did a great job. And to counter the losses that Missouri has, Kobe Brown leaving, you talk about Oscar Tshiebwe leaving, and some of the other players that left, Kobe Brown was one of the toughest losses for a program in college basketball. Kobe Brown was a really solid player that did it all for Missouri last year. He was a good rebounder. He was a good scorer. Missouri losing him is such a tough loss. And they're also losing Demoy Hodge to the draft. They're also losing DeAndre Golston to graduation. There are a lot of guys that Missouri is losing. It is so tough no matter how you slice it with how much production that they're losing. And in the past, that means Missouri would have fallen off a cliff. There's no way they would have been able to compete in the SEC next season. And maybe they still won't be toward the top because the SEC's got some loaded rosters for next year. But can Missouri be a top half team and maybe contend to be a top 25 team and be able to maybe make a run to the Sweet 16 or beyond the NCAA tournament? It's not out of the realm of possibility because of what Dennis Gates has brought in. He's got a three-man high school recruiting class consisting of 6'8" forward and Trent Pierce. He's a four-star recruit. 7-footer Jordan Butler, who's a four-star player as well. And you've also got a 3-star point guard, Anthony Robinson. And you could look at that and say, well, there's no 5-stars on that list, but still, Missouri getting 2 4-stars in a recruiting class, that's not too bad. And one of those guys being a 7-footer in Jordan Butler, I think that's actually big for Jordan Butler's development as well, to be able to bang against Connor Vanover in practice. If he didn't have Connor Vanover, there will be no other 7-footers on the roster for him to compete with. And I think it could make Connor Vanover better because he's going to have to play at a high level if he doesn't want Jordan Butler to start over him. So I think that's big for the Missouri Tigers to get a 7-footer in this recruiting class, and he could potentially be a guy that makes Connor Vanover better, and it could make Jordan Butler better as well. I really like the 3-man recruiting class Dennis Gates has brought in, and it shows you he's up in the ante in the recruiting world for the Missouri Tigers in college basketball. And then the transfer portal. Oh, the transfer portal has been big for the Missouri Tigers. Tamar Bates transferring in from Indiana. That is a big addition. He was a former 5-star recruit and a guy that has so much talent, but it never came all the way together at Indiana. He had some personal issues going on, and now that he's going to be back closer to home at Missouri, Tamar Bates could really shine and showcase why he was such a coveted recruit out of high school. I think Tamar Bates could definitely be a good player for Missouri next year. Nick Honor, he's back at point guard. He's a good point guard. He's a really solid player. I think he should be able to help set up Connor Vanover and be able to set up Tamar Bates and some of these other players that Missouri has. I don't know if he'll be as good for Connor Vanover as Max Amos was, but Nick Honor is still a really solid player. Noah Carter's back. He is a good player as well. He's another guy that can score the ball, do a variety of things for the Missouri Tigers. John Tonji is a transfer portal guard from Colorado State. And yes, it's tough to be able to project how a guy from Colorado State is going to make the jump to the Power 6 level, just like Connor Vanover, but at least with Connor Vanover, he has previous SEC experience. But with John Tonji, you don't know how good he's going to perform, and I think he could be a solid rotational piece for sure, and at least ensures that Dennis Gates has the depth necessary to be able to compete in the SEC next season. They also brought in Iowa State guard Caleb Grill. He's a great three-point shooter. You could have Caleb Grill, Nick Honor, and Tamar Bates in the backcourt. That could be a fantastic 3-guard starting lineup, and then have Connor Vanover at center, and then have Noah Carter at the 4. That's a pretty good starting 5 for Missouri, and that ensures you that they're not going to have any weaknesses at that starting 5. No player in that starting 5 will be bad, and then you've got some quality depth off the bench. They've also got Jesus Corello, a transfer portal forward from Campbell. He's another guy that's hard to project how he's going to perform at the Power 6 level, but at the very least, he should be an insurance policy if someone goes down with an injury, or he's a guy that at least will be able to be a depth piece for Missouri next year. So I'm looking up and down the Missouri roster. Are there many talented players like Kobe Brown on this list? Maybe not. Tamar Bates is probably the most talented player, or at least the player with the most upside for next year, but with players like Nick Honor or Noah Carter, you've got solid guys returning. Yes, you're losing Kobe Brown. Yes, you're losing Demoy Hodge. Those are really tough losses, but still, the Missouri roster has been reloaded with quality talent and quality depth, and that's all thanks to Dennis Gates. He's doing a great job, and he's trying to ensure that Missouri will not fall back to being an NIT or worse team in college basketball. He wants them to be a perennial SEC contender, at least in the top half of the league, and a team that makes the NCAA tournament every single year. And I think that this team has the capability on paper to get it done. And none other than Connor Vanover to round out the roster, the 7'4" center, one of the tallest guys in college basketball. Again, should be a great matchup with Jamarian Sharp and some of the other players and teams in the SEC next season. We'll have to see how Dennis Gates uses them, but if he uses Connor Vanover in a really solid way, can help him be a guy maybe average 8 to 10 points per game, can really defend at a fairly high level. It's tough with players of his size to do that, and be able to maybe step out, shoot some threes. That could really open up the offense for some of these other players, and if Tamar Bates can shine some of the other guys, I think Missouri could be a really solid team next year that has a great chance to be another NCAA tournament team. It's going to be really interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing how Missouri does next year in college basketball, but Connor Vanover is a great last addition for the Missouri Tigers, unless Dennis Gates has something else up his sleeve to be able to land some more players in the portal, make this team even deeper. They might have another scholarship or two, but this is a pretty loaded roster. Most of the spots are filled, and Connor Vanover, again, is a big addition. That should definitely be a huge asset, literally, for the Missouri Tigers next season. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Comment down below what you think about Connor Vanover transferring transferring from Oral Roberts to Missouri, whether you think Connor Vanover can play at the SEC level, maybe at a higher rate than he did at Arkansas, and whether you think that Dennis Gates has done a great job in the transfer portal and in the recruiting world to be able to bring all these players into Missouri for next season of college basketball. Follow me on Twitter as well. Link is in the description, and I'll see you next time.